welcome Ben Christo to the podcast.
Hey Adam.
How's it going?
Yeah, good man. Thanks for doing this in a strange hour for you and the time difference and everything. I appreciate it.
No, no problem. So you in the UK at the moment?
Yeah.
No, excellent. So that's where you're pretty much situated, isn't it, over there?
Yeah. I've lived in a number of places in the UK. Currently in Liverpool,
Mhm.
um, but I'm from Bristol and I lived in London for a long time.
Okay, excellent. So we've got the tour coming out in October, November with the Sisters of Mercy.
Yeah.
So what can we expect?
Well, if it's anything like what we've been doing the last few months, it will be a really nice balance of greatest hits and a lot of new stuff that we've written together as a band, as this band,
Hmm.
which is super exciting because it's the first time I think in many years when the set list has been heavily weighted on the band's on the members who are actually in the band at this time.
Okay.
So there's a not only is there a sense of musical consistency, but there's a sense of camaraderie and congruity between the members of we've done this together. This is our band. This is our music, which is really nice.
Yeah, because you've been in the band quite a while now, haven't you? Since 2006.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Um, so to finally be able to actually write prolifically
Mhm.
for the band is really exciting. It's a large part of it has been the addition of Dylan Smith, who's an Australian,
Yeah.
um, and as the guitar player. He was a friend of mine for many years. He comes from the same place as I do, as a teenage fan of the band of the Sisters of Mercy. So when we write music together, we're able to write, well, what would we want to hear as fans of this band?
Yep.
And that's really good, and it's been really exciting that the feedback that we've got from the fans and from press about the new material has been really positive. In fact, one really good Swedish writer said that it's Sisters 4.0. It's completely new, but it's still Sisters, and that's means a great deal to me as someone who has held this band in high regard to be part of a new era.
With Dylan, was it the I Nation you guys first had together, or you just jammed together?
Well, iNation was his solo project, and he just asked me to come and play a few shows with him. And
Okay.
I liked his music, I liked him, and I liked the challenge. And so we went out and did a couple of shows, and they were really good fun. And he's one of these multi instrumentalists. He can do everything. He can play everything.
Yeah.
Um, and when the opportunity came up for a new guitar player, it was one of those wood for the trees thing. I thought of so many other people before I thought of him, and then suddenly it was like, what the hell am I thinking? Dylan, it's got to be him.
Yeah.
Um, and and since he's been a part of this, it's just been really exciting and prolific in terms of this songwriting.
Mm. Because I saw one of the videos. Was it Hellfest? I think you guys did 2019.
Yeah,
Yeah, you guys worked really well together.
yeah, and that was the first show that we'd ever done
Oh,
together.
okay. Yeah.
And then it just built and built from there. And I think what's when it comes to the songwriting, he's he's so good at acoustic, and he can do every sort of acoustic style, and he's a multi instrumentalist, like I said. So he'll bring these huge, like, kind of expansive, epic songs, and I'll bring what I consider to be just a really strong rock song,
Yeah.
and then we can meld these things together and soundboard off each other and be each other's like editors. And obviously Andrew also will come in and say that doesn't work, this does work, and then we work really well together. Also, it's great writing songs when you know that it's actually going to be played to a big audience.
Yeah.
Whereas with our own bands, it's always been, well, I don't know, is anyone going to turn up? But with this, you're like, well, we know we're going to go out and play to 2,000 people a night. So
Yeah.
write a song with that in mind. It's exciting.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was just going to ask you that. Yeah, do you find a different writing songs for Sister of Mercy rather than the other bands where? Well, I think you pretty much answered that. Yeah, as far as having those anthem songs where people can sing along to and writing a little bit differently, I guess.
Yeah, it's challenging to write stuff for the sisters because you have to do less and make it more effective.
Yep.
So when we're writing any kind of guitar lead lines, it's pretty much got to be three notes. It can't really be any more.
Yeah.
And then how do you create something with three notes that hasn't been done before, that's interesting, that's different, that sounds like the band? It can be quite challenging. But when we've come up with stuff that we're really happy with, it's been quite quite euphoric. And there's I think it's just the first song that comes to my mind. There's a song called Eyes of Caligula in the set, which is going down really, really well. And like, it's just this. Just get it. I'm going to play for you now.
Yeah, cool.
This is the main riff, right? That's it.
Okay.
But it's the sound that we have with its, the really kind of wet, reverby, clean Strat sound.
Yep.
It's the chords that are changing underneath it. It's the mood. It's the feel. That suddenly, like, with one of my own bands, I'd probably think, well, there's not really anything to that. How can that really be a song? There needs to be more.
Yep.
But with the Sisters, as cliched as it is, less definitely is more. And you think about songs like Dominion, where it is just, and that's the song.
Yeah.
But everything else comes in and makes it the song. The way the chords change, the way the song builds, the lyrics, the vibe, the feel, the atmosphere, the themes. And so you have to think in quite a different way when you are writing for the Sisters, in a very minimal way, which somehow then becomes something huge, even though it's very minimal. Yeah. So it's definitely an interesting way of doing stuff, but I like it, and it's really helped my songwriting for my own bands as well. Thinking in that way of, okay, let's take more out, take more away. So that's been cool.
Yeah, that's unreal. So with Dylan, how long has he been living over there? I'm guessing he's living in England, is he?
Well, I met him in London, but he actually since then spent some time living in Sweden, and he currently is in the Netherlands.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
So he's very global. I think we all like to think of ourselves as Europeans rather than necessarily being. Well, I mean, he's Aussie, but I guess we feel that we can. The band is a very European band.
Yeah, we come under the same queen, so.
Exactly.
So with the drums, is that the guy behind you? Is he doing all the drum programming like live, or is that actually like a drum track that you guys play along to?
So it's been programmed. He's programmed it previously, and there's other stuff that he'll put in there, percussion, strings. That's all part of Dr. Avalanche. Dr. Avalanche is the machine. Dr. Avalanche has always been the machine, and Dave is the nurse to the doctor.
Okay.
So yeah, that's how it works, and then and so the bass is also on there as well. And so the doctor actually does quite a lot, and the nice thing that the doctor can do that a normal drummer can't do is, first of all, play the songs exactly the same every night. But I mean, but there's plus and points to both. I mean, I miss playing with a live drummer, and when I did play with a live drummer earlier this year, it was great. I played with a guy called Ricky Warwick, and we had a great drummer called Jack. Jack from Attacks the Heat, and getting to play again with a live drummer, it's so exciting and so vibey and so groovy, and it works for that band.
Yep.
With the Sisters, you need the machine, you need the industrial feel, you need the because we all kind of are more fluid around it. The foundation of the machine, which is the doctor, allows us to be more sparing with what we do, more sparse with what we do, and more fluid with what we do, vocally and guitar wise, because you've got that locked down foundation. And also there's so many details and nuances that are on the dock in terms of, as I say, like percussion and stuff that bring so many kind of sophisticated elements to it. So it's a really important part of the band. Yeah.
So you guys have to be like straight on all the time, don't you? Like, there's no room for mistakes.
Yeah, because you can't like try and fix things on stage if there's like a major. I mean, there of course with every band there have been bits where things have gone wrong, and fortunately we've been able to fix it on the fly, or just like, okay, we'll just go in halfway through or whatever. But it does mean that you don't have that flexibility of going to the drummer, okay, now let's start it again now.
Yeah, that's it. But when you get to your solos, though, that's when you just go, crazy and do some stuff there.
I mean, I tend to play in a very minimal style, although what it does mean is that I can just go with whatever I feel on the night.
Mm.
So there are certain pieces that are written to be, it's a tune. That's a little kind of musical piece in itself within the song.
Yeah.
And there are others where it's more like, well, it's got this kind of a vibe, so let's just play that kind of a vibe in whatever way I feel tonight.
Mm. Well, I guess it saves a lot of time with sound checks as well. Then have to spend an hour just on the drums. Boom, boom.
Yeah, it's a very good point. Yeah, very good point.
Yeah, that's really good. No, it sounds like a great show. So it's actually, you're doing Australia and New Zealand on this tour?
Yes, so Auckland and Wellington in New Zealand, yeah.
Yeah. And so you've been here before?
Yeah, 2 times. So once in 2012, we did the Soundwave Festival, the touring Soundwave Festival.
Oh yeah, of course. Yes, that's right. Is that the one with Metallica?
I think so. 2012. I can't really remember, but I know Machine Head were on it. I know Blink 182 was on it. Limp Bizkit, Linkin Park, Strung Out was on it. Because they're one of my favorite punk bands. I remember that I got to meet them, which was in Adelaide. We played in this prison, this converted prison, which was awesome. And then we came back in and we did a tour in 2019, which was one of the last things the band did. Apparently, it was one of the last gigs a lot of people went to because it was October, November 2019.
Okay. Yeah. Now, talk about some of your other bands. Do you still have a lot of them going, like Diamond Black and Shot Through the Dark? Are they still running?
Well, yeah. I mean, with Shot Through the Heart, it was that was always a covers. It was a covers thing. It was more of a night. It was a night where I put a band together and we would play at a club once a month covers of a very particular sort of music, 80s hard rock. So that would be everything from, on the softest end, something like Heart, on the heaviest end, something like Judas Priest, but all this kind of like 80s rock stuff. And so mostly it was the stuff in between, Def Leppard, Bon Jovi, Dokken, Winger, Rat, Skid Row, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because I love that music, and I've met like-minded people in the scene who love that music too. We're like, let's do it properly. Let's do a night where we play all these tunes, but we do it really well. We really, really get all the vocal harmonies down. The guitar solos are the way they should be. The sound is really good. Plus, let's do the interesting songs by these bands. Let's not just do the most obvious shit that you hear every time. Let's do songs from the Highway to Hell album, but not Highway to Hell.
Yeah.
Let's do Girls Got Rhythm. Let's do Shot Down in Flames. Let's do Beating Around the Bush. These are all massive songs. Yeah. Why don't we do those? And people's response to it, people were just blown away that they were actually hearing these songs live. These songs that they absolutely loved. They were hearing them actually played live. So that was a really exciting thing that we did for a few years. And it was really just a passion project. It was never anything that was necessarily going to be a job. It was just something that we loved doing. And I got like guests to come up. And sometimes we had some quite well-known guests come up and sing a song or play a guitar solo as the night grew and became more popular.
That's cool.
And then that was a really cool thing. And I potentially there will be another one, perhaps like a Christmas special. But as the years went on, I cut it down because it was taking up so much time for something that ultimately didn't really make any money. And although it wasn't about that, it meant I was spending a lot of time doing something that wasn't actually generating any revenue for me, which you just can't sustain as a musician. So I cut it down to make it something where we'll do maybe 3 or 4 a year, and they'll be special, like a summer special, Christmas special, that sort of thing. So I'm thinking we'll probably do one at the end of this year. And of course, the pandemic shut that down a lot. But
yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that's been a really good fun thing.
Yeah. Now, did I say Shot Through the Dark or Shot Through the Heart?
You said dark. You said dark. I think you were thinking of
Ozzy.
Yeah.
I thought I did. Sorry about that.
That's all right. It's another classic metal rock thing. Yeah.
I was going to ask you too, because I saw somewhere that you guys did a Firehouse song. Because I'm a huge Firehouse fan. Bill Leverty was actually one of my first guests on the podcast back in 2017.
Oh wow! We did All She Wrote, and then we also started doing which was obviously the classic, with all the 3-part harmonies, everything. But then we started doing Helpless as well from the same album. It's the last track.
Yep.
And we were talking about doing, I think, either Reach for the Sky or Hold Your Fire.
Cool.
That we might bust out next time round. But again, it was just great finding people on the scene who knew that band and who were passionate about it.
Oh yeah.
And as well as like Firehouse, we would do Harem Scarum, Danger Danger, Hardline, Mr. Big, like all these great bands that perhaps your average punter wouldn't know.
Yep.
But what was great about it was that we'd get a real loyal following of people who'd come along and go, I can't fucking believe they did that song by Enough's Enough. I can't believe they did do that song by Winger. Yeah. People who were really passionate about the genre, like who'd really gone into the depths of the genre like we had, yet we'd still play enough songs for your average like rock fan to go, oh yeah, and I know that Aerosmith song, I know that AC/DC song.
That's great. Yeah. Yeah, so I played with Firehouse back in 1996. Our band supported them over in Indonesia, and they were huge over there, like just massive.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That must have been amazing. What was that like?
Yeah, it was really good. I mean, I was part of the like a house band at the Hard Rock Cafe. We played every night of the week, and then we supported the bands that come over. So back when the hair was down here, you know.
Well, we with my previous band Night by Night, that was a kind of a combination of classic rock and more of a modern sound. We got like a really good review from Bill Levity. He really liked the stuff.
Oh, good. Yeah.
And he gave us this quote to use about how good he thought it was, which was amazing. When the people that you've grown up listening to are saying that your band is good and publicly will say that, that's for me that's a real, that's what I think success really is. Like if you were going to try and define what you think success is, I think it's getting like praise from your peers, from the people that you aspire and who influenced you. And also I think success is having a profound effect on people across, whether that be 10 people or 10,000 people, that your music helps them in some way.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, that Levity thing was definitely a case of the first thing of getting that endorsement that we also managed to get from Rick Savage of Def Leppard, and Kane Roberts, who played for Alice Cooper for a while. He really liked our stuff as well. So it was just great. These guitar heroes and music heroes saying, "Hey, I like your band." It's like,
yeah. No, Bill's great. I mean, I've pretty much kept in contact with him over the years, and like I said, he's on the podcast. And during the pandemic, I put like a video together of people playing a solo in A minor pentatonic, and Bill was one of them, and he did this solo just using the one scale, and it was really cool just to have him on there.
Yeah, well, you can tell it's him when he plays. It's one of the few kind of guitarists of that era that you know it's him when you hear it, and you know it's him. He's very like Andy Timmons, like Pete Lesperance from Harem Scarum. They're guitarists who were kind of unsung heroes of that genre and of that era, who were much better than a lot of the guitarists who got recognised because the bands were bigger or whatever.
Yeah.
Because like Timmons, Levity, Lesperance are so creative with their lead playing, and they've got their own voice completely on the fretboard. Yep. So yeah, I could see why Levity would make such a great contribution in that way.
Yeah, it's good. Have you heard his solo albums?
I don't think I have. What should I listen to?
He's got a few out there at the moment. Actually, he's got like 4 or 5 solo albums.
What's in your opinion? Where should I start?
It's called Divided We Fall.
And is it stylistically? How would you describe it?
This one, I mean, it's similar to Firehouse, I guess. Like I think Michael Foster plays on the drums, but it's got a bit of his own little flavour into it. Yeah, it's really cool.
Does he sing?
Yeah, he sings and plays. He does all the lead vocals. Yeah.
Oh, amazing! I will check that out, because if it's the Firehouse guitarist doing Firehousey kind of stuff, I'm gonna like it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, you like it. And like I said, some of the other albums he's had just been like all the traditional blues type thing. And then he had one of covers he did. But this one's all originals. Yeah, it's great.
Nice.
So yeah, enjoy it. Now, just had a couple other questions, if that's all right, if you've got a bit of time.
Sure, man. Absolutely, yeah.
So I noticed the band, they're celebrating the 40th anniversary, Sisters of Mercy. So do you remember when you first got into them?
Yeah, it was in 1994,
Okay.
and I still have an uncle who's only 8 years older than me, so he was always like a big brother to me, and he got me into pretty much everything, music, films, movies, books, video games that I'm still into today.
Mm.
And one of the he just played me a song called "When You Don't See Me" from the Vision Thing album in 1994, and I was just blown away. I was like, "What? This is amazing! It's like this huge, well-produced classic rock, but it's dark and it's mysterious and it's intelligent and it's weird. It's not just like bombastic and silly,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's got all the production values of that bombast that I like of Def Leppard and all the big bands, and and then that was it. I was like, this is amazing. This is incredible. And also, the 90s was a weird time for me, particularly the early to mid 90s, of trying to find my place musically, because I'd grown up listening to all this great 80s rock. And then suddenly it just wasn't cool to like that anymore.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
had to like, you had to like all this kind of terrible indie music, and it seemed like things had either gone too far the one way or the other. Like what was credible in alternative music now was either really kind of limp, nothing indie music, or really, really over the top, heavy, aggressive metal.
Yeah,
There was nothing really in between, and I just find that kind of really heavy music. There wasn't any charm to it. It was kind of almost this sort of masculine rage, and then this very limp music. There wasn't any drive to it, and there wasn't any feel.
Mm.
And I found it really hard to be part of any kind of musical group as a kid, as a teenager, because I was still listening to I was still walking around doing my paper round listening to like Winger, and yet if everybody else was like laughing at me, like, why are you listening to these stupid 80s bands? You should be listening to what we're listening to, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Rage Against the Machine, like, or all these like fucking Ocean Colour Scene, all these like really limp indie bands.
yeah.
And you'd turn on the one or two places you could go to for alternative music, rock music, and there'd just be nothing out there for you, because it would just be so. And it wasn't until I heard the Sisters and I was like, well, actually, hang on, this is a credible band, a relevant band that is actually good. This helps me with my sense of identity as a teenager, that I can proudly go, I like this band, and not have everyone go, what? Why do you like that? So that was a really important part for me. The Sisters helped me have that sense of musical identity, which I then also got with bands like the Wild Hearts and Therapy, Three Colours Red, Ricky Warwick, The Almighty, Nine Inch Nails, and a bunch of other bands that I found in the mid 90s, which still had power and production and drive and anger, and yet were still melodic and anthemic and had a sense of charm to them.
Yeah. So, and how did you get the job in the band?
I got a phone call one day, and from a guy who wouldn't tell me who he was or what band he was calling on behalf of. He was just a mysterious guy. And I was very skeptical, because he was asking me if I wanted to audition for his band. He had all this tour booked, and I was like, who's this? Why is he not telling me who he is? He's probably just making it up. And I spoke to a few people at the time that I knew who were kind of in the industry, and they said, well, sometimes if a band is of a certain scale and they don't want people to know they're missing a member or looking for a new member for various reasons. And so I thought, well, okay, well, I'll go along to this audition. I don't know what I'm going for, but what the guy on the phone told me, he said, well, we're like a mixture of Motorhead and U2, so bring some Hendrix riffs. Okay. So I got this really like cheap bus that you called the Mega Bus, which is like £1 to go up to this to do this rehearsal, to this audition. Walked into the room, didn't know who I was auditioning for, because although I was a fan of the band, I hadn't really followed them closely for the last sort of 5-10 years. I didn't know who the current members were or anything like that. And so there was another guitarist there. He started playing some chords and said, can you just jam some solos over this? So I did that. And then he said, can you play these riffs? And he started playing riffs at me. And I can't read music, but I'm very good at picking things up by ear. Okay. So he played these riffs, which I retrospectively realized were unreleased Sisters songs. Yeah. But they still had a Sisters kind of quality to them, which as a musician, I'll be able to explain to you, is the use of the minor sixth in the riffs. They just had this kind of, get the guitar again, just anything that's got this kind of, kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
This particular riff was this, and it was this
Yeah.
that made me think, wow, that's very kind of Sisters of Mercy
Uh,
maybe this is the Sisters of Mercy. And so I just thought, well, maybe it is. It probably isn't. But if I just play a famous riff by them right now and see if anybody reacts, maybe that will be my answer.
wow.
So I played one of their famous riffs, and one of the guys goes, "That's one of our songs." And I was like, "Oh my God!" And I was suddenly so nervous. I remember it vividly. My hands were shaking. I was like, "Oh, I can't play anymore. I can't play." But I'd already had half an hour to be just like, "Well, who are these guys? Whatever."
Yeah.
Which was great in retrospect. I really appreciate the fact that I was able to be relaxed in that situation. Had it been, you're going to join, this is your chance to join the Sisters of Mercy, this is a chance to change your life, maybe I would have been very, very nervous.
That's incredible.
And then a couple of days later, they just called me up and said, "Yeah, we want you to be in the band." And I went from just working in a store to then getting on a tour bus to LAX to drive to Vegas to do the first show. It was a really kind of quick change of things. But yeah, that was. I still feel very lucky that everything fell into place for me to have that opportunity.
Yeah, that's incredible. So, do you remember how that guy got your number? The one that called you?
Well, the guy who called me was actually Andrew Eldridge. It was. I later discovered it was him,
really?
the singer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It wasn't like a manager or anything. It was him.
Oh.
And I still don't really know. I know that at the time I had a MySpace page which was linked to a website called Muso Finder, which was somewhere where you just list yourself as a musician and stuff. And my MySpace page, I had 2 songs on there where I'd written and recorded everything, and I cited a whole bunch of influences, and one of those influences was the Sisters of Mercy. So I imagine he must have put all that together. I don't know how he found my MySpace page in the first place. But the one intriguing thing that happened that's really memorable about that initial stage of the process was that he phoned me, let's call it the Tuesday, and he said, "I'll phone you back tomorrow, Wednesday at 2:00. And I missed the call by about 30 seconds. Oh, no. Instantly tried to phone back, but the phone, he wouldn't pick up. It was going to what sounded like fax machine. And I kept trying to phone, and it was just fax machine. I was like, right. I walked up the road to the internet cafe and sent the only fax I've ever sent in my entire life. that said, "Hey, it's Ben, the guitarist. I'm really interested if you still want to speak to me." And instantly, after he got the fax, he phoned me straight away. And apparently, that was the cusp of me almost losing the job. Wow. But because I showed the initiative to send the fax, it kind of won me the place.
That's amazing. That's incredible. What a story. Wow.
Anyway.
Yeah. And the other quick question I just got for you is, I did read that when you first got started, you got an amplifier, a lady from Tony Iommi. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. Yeah. I didn't actually have an amp at the time. I'd had actually, this was the only amp I had. You see this?
Yeah, the Marshall.
Yeah, that's the same one that I had as a teenager. Okay. But we were starting with my band. We were starting to play actual gigs where you need an actual amp. Yep. So I was borrowing one off someone, like I think it was a Jack. I can't remember what it was. A Lane. No, it wasn't Lane. It was anyway. It doesn't matter. And what happened was that the local scene that we were playing on, one of the other bands that we would regularly play with, his uncle was Tony Iommi's manager. Okay. So this guy in the other band gave our album of my band to his uncle, who was like really into us and started actually helping us out. And one of the things he did was he said, "Ben, you haven't got an amp, have one of Tony's." And it's even got fire damage on it from pyro.
Oh, wow. You still have it?
And I don't, and it's so difficult for me to talk about it. But basically, what happened is I don't really know what happened, but I think what happened was I left it in this rehearsal place where I believed it was locked up, and I think somebody there who had access to it sold it.
Oh no!
But I have no proof, and I don't know who that was. But one day it was there, one day it wasn't, and it's heartbreaking, really, because it wasn't even like I was stupid or just like left it somewhere. It was in a lockup in a rehearsal room. someone had access to it, someone sold it.
Someone must have known. They must have known Tony Iommi.
Yeah, they must have known. So
Yeah.
wherever it is now, whoever's got it probably doesn't even know that's what it is.
Yeah, that's right. Incredible. That's great.
So if there's anyone out there with a Laney G100 head with fire damage on it, that's what it is. It's mine.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah, the word's out there now. That's excellent. No, but thanks very much again for this. And yeah, hopefully when you guys down here, hopefully we can try and catch up.
Yeah, man, absolutely, dude.
And good luck with everything.
Yeah, good, great talking to you. Thanks for doing all the research that you did as well. I appreciate it.
No worries. No, it was really interesting. And just finding out all those different things was great.
Awesome, dude.
All right. I'll catch up
All right,
with you
man.
soon. All right. See you then.
Cheers,
All right,
cheers
bye-bye.
Adam.
Bye.
Bye, man.